what I'm bringing up is... I'm not getting defensive. How dare you?
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Welcome, Dal Bush, to Contest of Challengers.
I'm sorry, what is that?
It is a podcast that you take part in weekly. You should already know.
Oh, God, I already don't care.
You should know. You're on this, we've been doing this for 9 years.
I was under the impression this was going to be a comics industry business podcast on the Yak Channel Podcast Network, broadcast throughout the world, but recorded in Chicago, Illinois, between myself, W. Dal Bush, and you, Patrick Brower.
In the studio apartment. Somebody else's.
The co-owners of Challengers Comics and Conversation, located in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago, Illinois. Instead, what you're telling me is that it's just some amorphous thing where we just talk about whatever, and I'm not into that at all.
There are more podcasts in the world every single week, and more of them are scripted entertainment, where it's basically audio plays or audio dramas with big-name actors and things. And
to my mind, and I don't follow a lot of podcasts, but that was where I first started hearing about podcasts, were things like the Thrilling Adventure Hour and stuff like that, where it was like legit performers performing something on like a routine basis.
The majority of what I listen to is basically what we do. It's just a couple of people talking about their jobs or the industry that they are fans of or work in.
That's the only podcast I listen to.
The only one that's different is I listen to Criminal, which is, I think, like a couple episodes a week, but they're only like 20 minutes to a half an hour. And they tell stories of crimes throughout the years. There's usually interviews with people. Mm-hmm. In a similarity to the Gen Con episode of Contest of Challengers, Colt Cabana has recently changed the format to his Art of Wrestling, and instead of a long-form interview with one person per week, it's a snapshot of the week that he had, filled with very brief interviews with people he interacts with.
So it's not like he's booking people and scheduling a time, it's just like he's at a show, this guy's at a show, let's talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I gotta tell you that at first I thought that, and it's also a shorter, like he used to do an hour, and now it could be like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, what have you.
Like the whole episode or the individual
the whole episode.
Wow, okay.
Because each interview is just a few minutes. And there's a lot of, it's 3 in the morning, I have to catch a flight, or I have an 8-hour drive today to Milwaukee. That's not, it could be, depending where he's coming from, but not from Chicago.
Sure.
Anyway, I thought I wouldn't like it, but I really enjoy it.
Sure.
And I liked doing it for us. It's just that we don't encounter that many. Well, we do. We encounter a ton of people each week. I was going to say we don't encounter enough people a week to do it. But I just imagine it takes way more editing.
Yeah.
For example, this individual episode of Contest of Challengers is going up right after we record it.
I hope people appreciate how quickly and thoroughly you leaned into the microphone to show how important this information is.
Well,
crucial.
I mean, I've said this often, like, I'm not going to edit this one. I'm not editing this.
Okay.
I'm going to slap the intro, I'm going to slap the outro on, it's going up.
We're going to try not to screw it up too badly.
So, unless you start actively swearing and using full names of people we worked with in the past...
What am I, Ashley? I'm not going to do that.
Wait, what?
The one time I recorded an episode of this with Ashley, it was unusable.
Right.
Because she was so reticent to do it. I wouldn't even say reluctant. She did not want to do it, but it's like, look, there's no one around.
Right.
This was version 1 of the podcast where it's like, we got to put something together.
We eventually put that out.
I'm explaining this to the people who are listening who might not be aware of the context.
Okay, no, but I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But it was, she so quickly took it in a direction where it's like, I cannot broadcast this, that we had to like pull a random person who'd come in like almost for the first time into talking about like their own thing.
Are you saying it's because she was so profane and
she was just steering the conversation?
Naming?
No, she was steering the conversation into waters that were not objectionable necessarily, but certainly something where it's like, this is not how we want to represent the story. And she did it knowingly, because she did not want it to air.
Oh, I see.
She did not want to
Okay,
participate
okay.
in this.
Well, keep in mind that was 9 years ago.
It was. So that's the reference I was making.
I see. I feel like I dusted that one off and tried to use it or something.
I hope not.
Like, there's only a couple. There was one that I did with Parker that got broken up into, for some reason, it recorded itself into, like, 30, 45-second chunks.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't feel like piecing it together, so I did, like, 2.5 minutes and just dropped it in somewhere.
Sure.
And there have been some, people know, questionable audio issues that we've still run the episode anyway, just because we did it, you know?
Sure.
There was one I recorded with Luke Smarto late one night in the store, and this was back when I was doing the full 2-microphone setup with the inputs into a separate audio device that was bought just for recording.
Uh-huh.
And for whatever reason, one of the microphones didn't pick anything up, so it was entirely one-sided. Kind of like the Brian Hibbs episode.
Yeah.
But I didn't go back and fix it. I think it was his microphone that didn't work, so it was just... And we took a break in the middle of it. We were both very drunk, and he talked a lot about dinosaurs.
Okay.
But, so that's a lost episode.
Sad that the people didn't get to hear that.
I know. There's another Parker one that was lost, and I feel I do have that actually one in my folder, in my audio folder.
Okay.
But I don't know that it's ever actually been used. I can't recall.
I wouldn't use it if I were you. I didn't want to use it when it was recorded.
Sure. But the point is, I am not going to edit this because it has to go up.
Mm-hmm.
Our week and weekend schedules were so packed that we had no opportunities to sit down and record.
Yep.
And to be fair, we didn't really have a lot of topics.
No.
And it took till...
And that hasn't changed.
Yeah, it took till 5 minutes ago where I decided to troll through the... Troll's the wrong word. Scroll through, or... Does troll work?
Not really.
I'm... What's a better word for looking up all the articles about Fan Expo Toronto? Something that sounds like troll?
Yeah. Trawl.
Okay.
Trawl, like a fishing boat with trawls
Okay.
full of fish.
So that's what I was going for. There is no actual trolling involved.
Trawl. Trawl.
Trawl.
Specific kind of boat, I believe, is a trawl or trawler.
In the exact opposite of leaning into the microphone, I'm leaning away now to unzip my boots because I've been wearing my fancy Fluvox today. And it's time to loosen up to get the blood flowing for a full, free-formed conversation. Dal, I teased you with a topic. I mean, I didn't tell you what it was, but I told you earlier in the week, hey, I got something. And lately I've been having store questions that I want to talk to you about. Then I think, no, I'll wait, and we'll talk about it on the podcast. So you're hearing it for the first time.
Okay.
And we get the actual type of conversation you and I would have for things.
I hope it's not time sensitive, like it's to the store's detriment that we didn't talk about it for like 5 days.
Not at all.
Okay, good.
They said they're going to shut off our power on Wednesday if we don't. No. We use Square for our credit card processing.
Yep.
And we've been doing it for years. They're the third company we've used. Third or fourth? Third?
I don't
want to say third. I think we've stuck with them the longest. I'm the most happiest with them.
Uh-huh.
They do a lot of services for us above and beyond just the processing.
Yeah.
Things to take advantage of. And even more that we'll be using in the future, hopefully.
For sure. They do a lot of stuff that's beyond point of sale. It's more just like running a small business. So there's a lot of things they can do as far as payroll and scheduling and tax payment and all sorts of stuff that we don't need today, but we hope to need very soon.
Yeah. The more professional we get, the more they can help us out.
Yeah.
One of the features that they advertise is coming imminent, hopefully this week, is little by little they've been reducing, because of the chip cards, they've been reducing the security controls that we need with patrons. For example, we no longer have you sign for a credit card if the total is under $25. That's basically Square saying no matter what happens, they're guaranteeing that it's not going to come back. We don't have to show proof of transaction if there's a discrepancy to a transaction under $25. And that saves time, and that makes things a little easier for us.
Absolutely.
And
we sell a lot of small items that are... An individual comic book is, $3 to $4. So people who are just getting 2 or 3 comics in a week, There's no sense having them sign for something that's like $12.
And it's no secret to anyone who listens to this podcast that I tend to talk fast at points, and sometimes my words will run together, and it'll be hard to separate them and to understand what I'm trying to say. Specifically, when I tell people that a transaction is under $25, when I say it too fast, it sounds like I'm saying, and because your transaction is $125, you don't need to sign. And that'll make people say, wait, what? That happened at Gen Con for a woman who was buying something. She's like, how much was it?
What?
And Kyle Starks had to say, he said under. So I've changed it to less than $25.
Interesting.
Because I've noticed that it is an issue that I have, a problem that I've caused in the way I talk. But that's not going to be a concern moving forward because Square is eliminating signatures altogether.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to be just for chip cards or altogether. It's something that they mentioned in a blog post several weeks ago, and the confusion for us was they phrased it in a way where it sounded like it was already done, but what they meant was the programming was already done, the update won't be pushed out for a while yet. So, like, it led to us having to contact Square to go, we can't figure out how to turn this on.
Yeah, we know where to go into the services and find out, like, where to what buttons to click to turn it off and on. And we did it with Oni at Gen Con. We're like, you can turn off signatures and like they went into their system and turned it off as well to speed up things.
But we got a response from Square, and it was within the next week we will be pushing the update out, so just look for that.
Yeah, so I mean, hopefully by October for sure, but we hope it's by the end of this week.
Yeah, it certainly would be nice if it would happen sooner. That would be nice.
But anyway, here's my question to you.
Okay.
Since we could turn off the need for signatures, in theory, and all of this Square buildup isn't really part of the question, but it's just showing how there's changes to that kind of a thing.
Sure.
What if we turned off receipts and only printed them on request? What if we were to say to someone, do you want your receipt? How often do people want their receipts?
Well,
I'm finding less than half the time.
I guess it's three separate things.
Okay.
One, people who absolutely want their receipt.
Okay.
Two, people who absolutely do not want a receipt. Three, people who will take it or not take it depending on if you give it to them. The thing that I dislike is having to add one more thing we have to ask people.
I already do it.
You already asked them if they want their receipt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, you'll recognize this. I said, do you care about your receipt?
I noticed today that there's a lot of stuff that when someone comes up to the counter, I have a lot of things that I have to ask them. Did you find everything okay? Was there anything we're out of or that you needed that we didn't have? Did you want a bag for this for 7 cents? And so on. And so it's already like 3 things, not counting any extra stuff that might be going on for an event or in a week or whatever. And then to have to continuously add on, did you want your receipt? Like,
I understand. I knew that would be your main concern.
Yeah.
A, that's not that big of a deal to me.
Okay.
B, the automatic receipt default print for us is gift receipt. So we'd have to change that because when you reprint a receipt,
yeah, that's true.
It's a gift receipt.
Yeah.
And if people want a receipt, they don't want a gift receipt. A gift receipt is a separate thing. We'd have to change that.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons...
There's only like 2 weeks out of the year where people genuinely want gift receipts.
Yes.
Like, outside of those 2 weeks at the end of the year, there's
it's very random occurrence.
Maybe I can count on one hand for the rest of the year the amount of time someone will ask for a gift receipt.
Sure.
And we're not very strict about returns when it comes to gifts and stuff. If something isn't right, we want to make it right for the person who is the recipient or the person who's giving the gift. Like, we don't want to just like fold our arms and go like, no, you bought it. The end. Like, obviously, if something's been opened or used, that's a different matter.
Yeah,
but if it's
I didn't like this comic. I want to return it.
Yeah, but if someone buys a graphic novel for someone for the holidays or for a birthday, and then they say, hey, that person already had it, like, the first thing we'll say is, like, if you want to exchange it for something else, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
we don't want to get in the way of that.
Our rule is, and always will be, no refunds, exchanges.
Yeah, I don't know if we've posted that anywhere. We probably should at some point.
Well, that's one more thing to post on the...
It's fine.
So it's blocking... Well, we can do that once we turn off the signature, so it's not blocking
you don't have to
the left-handed signature people anymore.
Yeah, you don't have to spin the pad around it.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll wait on that for a week.
But, I mean, it wouldn't... It doesn't... I know people always say things like, well, that's not posted. I mean, it used to be posted, right?
I'm sure at one point it was.
But I don't know how that's a rule in retail.
It just usually helps if someone sees it, and that way there's not confusion later. But, I mean, someone who's upset is going to be upset regardless of whether or not you have a posted policy.
The mitigating factor between of me asking about turning off receipts is, well, A, it seems to me that only half the people want them, and we are throwing half of them away. B, without a Sam's Club nearby,
it's hard to
getting
get
the register paper
Sure.
becomes kind of a pain.
Okay.
And we'll need to get some very, very soon.
Okay.
But I mean, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. I understand. It fully does add another thing to ask, and if it were me, I would just not ask them if I found everything. Okay, because who cares about that?
Clearly, the least important
the
part
receipt is the most important part.
Did you want to spend more money than you did right now? Don't ask them that. Don't ask them if there's a way that they could spend more money. That's stupid.
I really like a program that our good friends at All Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia have, a pay it forward program where people can buy graphic novels basically for kids.
Okay.
Like they'll say, hey, I'm going to buy this copy of Science Comic Sharks. And then they trust it to us to give to a kid who we think deserves it or could use it or what have you. And I would like the idea of maybe extrapolating that out to not even a specific book, but they're like, yeah, here's $15 for the graphic novel fund, so we can then, like, if a kid is buying a book, be like, oh, hey, this has been paid for by somebody else. For hold on, hold on.
I wasn't responding.
No, I thought you were about to jump in.
I was saying okay.
Yeah, but you said it in like a, I don't like this.
No, I want to hear the rest of it.
But what I'm bringing up is I'm not getting defensive. How dare you? A paid forward bag fund. Like if we just have a almost like a CBLDF bin, but for bags. So we stop asking people for bags, and if someone after sex says, "Oh, I need a bag," we can just take 7 cents out of that and give them a bag. That way, we don't have to keep asking about bags.
Okay.
But I would like to do away with having to ask for bags, but if people are using a credit card and the transaction is over and they say, "Oh, I need a bag," we need 7 cents.
Yeah, that's why I always make sure I ask, because I never want to be in a position where that happens, where someone's,
How often, when you ask someone, "Do you want a bag for this?" they assume you mean a bag and board.
It happens.
And then they're like, "Oh, I'll take one of these." Like, yeah, but did you want an actual bag?
There's probably a better way to phrase what we're giving them, because it's, when you say customer bag, like, it's weird to say that to the customer.
Right, they don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's something we call it. And
I mean, if we say, "Do you need a bag to carry everything in?" that just adds a whole other sentence.
And if we didn't call a comic bag and a board a bag and a board, if we called it like a sleeve or something, then it would already be a different word. But because the thing that you put the comic in to protect it is called a bag, and the thing that you put the comic bag in is also called a bag, is difficult. It is imprecise.
What about shopping bag? Would you need a shopping bag today?
Yeah, but that always sounds more elaborate than just
sounds
like
bigger and
that's like the fabric bags that we sell.
Carry out bag, take out bag.
But that's like a fast food thing. There's not really a good name for what it is, except for every other store on the planet that doesn't have to sell a protector for the thing that someone's buying. Like every other store that has a bag, that's the bag, is the thing with the handles.
Right.
Because they don't have to sell a bag for anything else they sell. Like, that's just comic shops having poor terminology that isn't standardized.
Well, I mean, it is. It's just the wrong word to use.
But again, a bag isn't what people always call it. Like, you and I might call the polypropylene protector that a comic goes in a bag, but some people would call that, again, a sleeve or something else.
A cover. People call it covers.
A cover as well, yeah.
But it's not a cover because it's completely
it's a bag
enveloped.
Yeah.
And it's not a sleeve.
I mean,
because sleeves.
I feel like that got used because that's what you would put like vinyl records in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a sleeve. You wouldn't call that a bag. That's a sleeve, and has some of the same dimensions.
Do you need a record sleeve except for comics for your comics?
Yeah. Well, that would be the thing that we're selling for 25 cents with a board.
Right. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess there's no really good term to use for...
And I mean, while it's irritating when it happens, when people mistake you asking them if they want something with handles for 7 cents instead of a clear protector for 25 cents, it doesn't happen all the time. It happens frequently enough to be a little frustrating, but not so frequently that I need to change anyone's behavior.
Yeah, because ultimately, this doesn't affect any other place they shop.
Right. And more than anything, it once it happens to a customer at the store, it never happens again.
To that customer.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, you only make that mistake with an individual one time. So, in essence, like, the people that it's happening to are people who've never shopped at the store. If they ever come back, they'll know what we're asking, because we've already explained it to them. They've made that mistake. They don't get to make it again.
So, okay, even though the Pay It Forward program wasn't necessarily a thing I was bringing up to talk about, your thoughts?
I don't like having to maintain a Pay It Forward program. Essentially collecting the money and then deciding who gets it or who's eligible for it is a process I don't want to be in the middle of. I don't like having to do that. That is uncomfortable for me to have to suggest to someone or offer someone the opportunity to pay for someone else's something, and then to have to decide what stranger is going to receive this other person's largesse. Having to explain to someone randomly, like you had an experience, I can't remember where, it was in a restaurant, I think, and there was a group that was at a table that was having problems with their bill, and in lieu of getting it corrected for them, they had suggested that the restaurant could pay for someone else's meal if that was okay with them.
Right.
Because they didn't just want to say, I'm buying their meal, because people can be offended by that. You need to give someone the option of, like, do you want to receive this money from a stranger, or does it make you uncomfortable to get that money from a stranger? And to sort of have to suggest that to someone is not a situation I would feel comfortable being in, if that makes any sense.
Many years ago, I had done a favor for a friend of a friend. She was going through a very, not traumatic, but a very stressful physical event, and I was the person who went with her to this.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, I took her out to breakfast. And then when the bill came, I'm like, I'll pay for this. And I can't remember the exact phrase she used. She's like, I'm not so weak that I'm a woman you have to pay for me.
Right.
And I just said, you went through this really stressful ordeal this morning. I was just going to buy you breakfast.
For the record, she got adamantium installed in her skeleton to make this a comics-specific request.
I mean,
that's why the story's being told.
Technically, she got the adamantium removed.
Oh, Patrick.
Anyway. But the whole like I don't need you to buy this for me.
Right.
I'm like, all right, but
I mean that's a real response people can have to that thing. And to be clear, like I don't mind, and I do actively give to charity. I think that's important to do as an individual, as a choice someone makes. But facilitating that and maintaining that and dispersing that is a thing where I don't want to do, especially in a setting where people don't understand that that's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a thing that maybe I'm making more out of it and people would love it and it would be, a huge boon to someone's life, but all I can see are the incredibly awkward interactions that would develop along that way.
Well, I have the perfect solution.
Mm-hmm.
We'll write it up.
Drake goes to a grocery store.
In the form of a horizontal 8.5 by 11 sheet. We'll put it in a frame and hang it by the front door, and no one will ever ask about it.
Fantastic. That's all I ask.
There you go. Problem solved. So we technically have the program.
We could also put it as a banner in the window and no one will ever see it there. A lot of options. We could make a Twitter post.
That's true, yeah.
We could do a poll.
We could talk about it on a podcast.
Things.
All of these things.
What's the best way to get no response? I think it's nice that All Star does that in Melbourne. I hope that they've had nothing but good responses to it from their community. I would not feel comfortable instituting it in Challengers.
Okay. Well, then I'm done. I've got nothing to talk about.
The end.
Podcast.
The next 9 questions were all about how we best do that program.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you just said no.
No. Well, what I have written down on this notebook in front of me is all news that came out of the Fan Expo Toronto from this weekend.
I like how you said that with such malaise.
Well, you'll understand when you hear most of it, because it's almost entirely DC.
Okay. I don't know that other companies do a lot at Fan Expo. I know Marvel has in the past. I think they announced Alpha Flight there one year. Because,
I didn't even
Fan
realize
Expo
it's a thing. And
yeah, I had mentioned it to you. We were...
and the guys of Marvel Legends.
Yeah, because that had been posted on toyarc.com. At a Marvel Legends panel, they had announced 4 new figures, I think, for an upcoming wave of X-Men figures. And when I had explained that it was Fan Expo Canada, you needed a lot more explanation than that. That was not... the short version was not... I thought it was like me saying San Diego, when what you were hearing was a jumble of words that do not belong in close approximation to one another in a sentence.
Like NWA Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis.
World's heavyweight champion.
Those things don't...
Worlds?
Things don't go together.
Worlds? I don't understand how that's a plural.
It's like the phrase "worlds collide" when
Yeah,
everything that's
more
happening
than one world.
No, but it's all in one world.
No, but it's supposed to be. Sometimes in comics, it's literally two different worlds.
Right, but I mean,
but in
Ring of Honor, worlds collide when it's New Japan and Ring of Honor.
Right, because in essence,
it's
those
on
are
one world.
But those are figuratively two different worlds.
Right, Nick Aldis, which, by the way, this explanation makes it sound like I'm a fan of his. Not at all. I want to make that perfectly clear. He could be figuratively champion of different worlds.
I don't think they
For
use
example,
it figuratively, though.
Middle Earth. He could be Middle Earth champion.
Well, it could be a different planet. Like, if he's saying, like, for the solar system, that would be interesting, and I'd love to see him defend the title on, say, Jupiter.
Wouldn't you call
Very
it planets
difficult.
collide?
You could use that interchanging.
I guess. Worlds collide does sound better.
I mean, I think maybe world is maybe used more when there's a population on it, but again, I can't speak to all the planets in the solar system. I don't know how populated they all are. I'm not going to pretend I do.
No, nor should you. Is Dragon Con this upcoming weekend?
It's currently happening, I believe.
See, that's why I was confused with Toronto, because...
Well, they're far enough away, and nowadays there's so many conventions that you can't pick a weekend where there isn't another one somewhere.
And also, I can't say I've heard a single bit of news that was announced at Dragon Con.
Dragon Con is, to my mind, not a very comics news-oriented convention, mostly because it encompasses a lot of different fandoms. I mean, it's Dragon Con specifically because it's more of a, fantasy, science fiction, nowadays very much a cosplay convention. So while there's comic stuff there, I don't know that publishers go to it a lot, and I don't know that they necessarily have a lot of breaking news. It's not that kind of show.
Well, for my sheet of news,
don't show me
4 separate times.
Fresh.
See, the reason you're looking at this because 4 separate times the word Scott Snyder is written on this page.
I guess Scott Snyder was at Fan Expo Canada.
No.
No?
I mean, these are just announcements. He wasn't involved in the announcements.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, don't know. Wasn't there. I was too busy being all in.
All in what? Hoffman Estates.
All
in Hoffman
partially
Estates.
in Hoffman Estates.
Just all in
all
Hoffman
in.
Estates.
All in. So the only bit of non-DC news is, weirdly, Dynamite has announced a second print to John Wick #1.
That's a good idea because there was a huge delay between 1 and 2.
Weirdly,
and between nothing and 1.
Weirdly, because issue 1 came out in November of 2017, so they're putting out the second print in September of 2018.
They've only had 2 issues out. You might as well.
Right.
You're not that deep in the run.
So issue 1 was November of 2017. Issue 2 was April 2018.
Yeah, and keep in mind, issue 1 was not supposed to come out in November 2017. It was supposed to come out like 3 or 4 months earlier. Issue
3 is scheduled for September 2018. Issues 4 and 5, because it's only a 5-issue miniseries, off the schedule.
Sure. Probably before the third movie comes out, but who knows for sure.
Can't guarantee it.
No. I wonder why it's taking them so long. Usually, a series that's based on other media has delays because of likeness rights and people signing off on it. But you'd figure that for a 5-issue series, that all would have happened before they launched it.
And it's a prequel series, too.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're ruining anything that's coming up.
Unless...
All right, Dal, I'm going to let you choose, based off of creator, what news you want to hear first.
Scott Snyder.
Here, I was going to give you choices.
Okay, what are my choices?
Your choices are Scott Snyder.
Donnie Cates.
No, Donnie Cates. Greg Capullo.
Okay.
Scott Snyder.
Uh-huh.
Jock.
Uh-huh.
Scott Snyder.
Okay.
Jock.
Uh-huh.
Greg Capullo.
Uh-huh.
Tom King. Jason Fabok.
Uh-huh.
Scott Snyder.
So is Tom King drawing a Scott Snyder book? Because it's the one thing it's not like the others.
Hold on. Scott Snyder.
Uh-huh.
Greg Capullo.
Uh-huh.
Peter Tomasi.
Uh-huh.
Steve Orlando.
Let's save the Scott Snyder family for last. Peter Tomasi, please.
Peter Tomasi is writing a new Spectre comic.
Interesting. Did they say which Spectre?
No, nor did they say who's drawing it.
Okay. Did they have any specific date that we might see a new Spectre comic?
2019.
That's not very specific.
I mean, it's not
you narrowed it down to sometime within the next Heat Death of the Universe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. I remember buying and reading the John Ostrander, Tom Mandrake.
Hal Jordan Spectre?
No, the classic Spectre
Yeah.
series. And I remember reading some Hal Jordan Spectre stories here and there.
Yeah.
Post Day of Judgment. I don't think I could tell you a single plot point that happens in any of those books. So I'm not against the idea of a classic Spectre comic coming back, but my interest in the Spectre was definitely more of the Crispus Allen.
Yeah, I mean, initially the Spectre was supernatural crime.
Mm-hmm.
He was a cop.
Yeah.
He was a detective
Jim Corrigan.
who became the Spectre, so he was still solving police crimes as the Spectre.
Yeah. The Spectre, it's fine. It's one of those mystical DC characters that I always think works better in small doses, like Dr. Fate showing up in a story. Awesome. What's he do on his days off? What's he do when he's not with the Justice Society? Don't care a lot. Never asked that question in my head.
Yeah, I did like that in Justice League Dark #2, the most recent bearer of the Dr. Fate mantle was in it, not as Dr. Fate, but in the Tower of Fate.
I don't read Justice League Dark after issue 1 because I didn't like it. What? Who is it?
Oh, I can't pronounce his name. He was the Paul Levitz run. He was the kid who was Dr. Fate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know the names.
Yeah.
I wasn't reading that book. That's cool.
So he is a
does
basically.
he still have his hoodie?
Well, he's not Dr. Fate. He's a prisoner in Fate Tower because, spoiler
that's
alert, Dr. Fate is Naboo.
Okay.
Kent Nelson.
That's not good.
They think he's Kent Nelson. He's not.
That's not good.
And it is the previous Dr. Fate who's like, "Hey, he's Naboo.
Uh-huh.
Don't trust him.
That's not good.
He's the bad guy here." Yeah. The reason I couldn't identify him more is because my ignorance of that series. I could not tell you if he was Muslim or if he was
I don't know.
Indian.
I don't know.
Okay.
I did not read. It was a launch book that I just remember paging through the week it came out and going, I don't know if I like Paul Levitz in the 21st century.
Yeah. So, Dal, the disappointing part about the rest of this information was you picked the one I was most excited for first.
Sorry, dude.
So, in keeping with that, we're going to go to Steve Orlando.
Yep.
Steve Orlando is writing a new Hawk and Dove comic.
Okay.
Don't know which Hawk and Dove. I'm assuming Hank and Dawn.
Probably not the... God, who did the... There was a really short version one where it was like Dove was a musician or something, and Hawk was like a soldier. And I don't even remember who the creative team on it was, but it did not last very long at all. It was one of those like late 90s, early 2000s reinventions where they just stripped everything away, and it was like, oh, you stripped away everything that people cared about. Because at the time... I think Hank Hall was still Monarch at that point.
Okay.
So the whole franchise was pretty toxic. So you had to go a completely different way with it.
Well, seeing as how they're in the Titans...
Yeah, that's why they're getting a comic book.
Yeah.
It's pretty standard Marvel DC policy. If characters are on a TV show or movie, they're gonna get at least a miniseries.
Okay, so that leads into... There will be, in 2019, a new Swamp Thing series.
A TV show, you mean, or the comic book?
Comic book.
Okay.
Obviously a TV series, which is filming right now.
Yep.
But there'll be a new comic. No word on the creative team. However, there will be a one-shot story or a story in an anthology, probably the Nuclear Winter special or something else, by... Any guesses?
Thomas King?
No.
I mean, he did the last one.
Right.
Steve Orlando?
No, we're done with him.
Okay. Scott Snyder?
And?
Jock?
Nope.
Greg Capullo?
Yep.
Okay.
Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo.
I want to say that there had been some long bubbling thing that Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo were going to do a Swamp Thing.
There was.
And it was like one of the biggest, like, obvious but unconfirmed rumors in the industry.
Now, Greg Capullo is apparently doing a series of Justice League Dark variant covers.
Yes, he's done at least the first two.
Has he? Okay. And his Swamp Thing, I guess, is modeled specifically off of Alan Moore. Not Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
Right, Alan Moore's a human being.
Yes.
Yeah, I can sort of see it.
But
I'm sure Alan Moore loves that.
While they didn't say Snyder and Capullo are doing that Swamp Thing series, it is assumed they are not.
Oh, okay.
Because of, excuse me, the amount of other Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo things I have on my list.
I could see them maybe doing it if it's less of a mini-series, ongoing series, huge event, and more of a, I don't know, we did this 18-page story just to get it out of our system. This is the story we had.
All right, I guess I'll just jump at the top.
Okay.
You've heard of the Batman Last Night on Earth series? The Black Label series from...
It was originally going to be Scott Snyder and Sean Murphy, and then it pivoted into Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, I think?
Yeah.
Is that right?
And the initial thing you heard was Batman wakes up in the desert with Joker's head in a jar.
Yeah.
And the Joker is still alive.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like the last Scott Snyder Batman story.
Yeah.
It is.
It's the last Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo Batman story.
Originally, it was just going to be the last Scott Snyder Batman story, and now that they've moved it into being a Greg Capullo thing, that it's their last project together on Batman.
Except it's not.
Oh,
but
no.
We'll get to that later.
Oh, no.
But now the premise is...
They retired for this sentence.
Bruce Wayne wakes up in Arkham Asylum, where he has lived for the last 20 years since he murdered his parents.
Okay.
Also, the Joker's head is in a jar.
Okay.
And he winds up stealing the Joker's head and escaping and going off on a little jaunt.
Okay.
And that is a 3-issue Black Label series.
Okay. I've read enough Scott Snyder Batman stuff that I don't care about it a whole lot. I'll read it and I'll probably enjoy it, but I don't really get excited about it. Sales-wise, though, it should do pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that it's, an automatic hit, because I thought that about All-Star Batman, and most people didn't care to near the level that they did on the previous Batman stuff that he had done.
Sure, but that wasn't with Greg Capullo.
And yeah, I guess that's the thing. Like, Metal was a way bigger hit than I thought it was going to be. So, yeah, I don't know.
Taking a quick sidebar from my list, I had told you that we had several people come in looking for Dark Knight's Metal on Saturday, and we were out of it.
Yep.
And you're like, I wonder why this is happening now. Well, one of the people elaborated on Instagram that he was at Best Buy buying the Death of Superman DVD, the new animated feature.
Okay.
And the person who was ringing him up said, "Oh man, have you read Dark Knight's Metal?"
What a random thing to say.
Right? So that guy came to us specifically looking for it.
That's cool.
Now,
thanks, Best Buy employee.
He didn't have it, I don't know if the Best Buy guy said go to Challengers or whatever, but the guy came to us. But he did buy the Road to Metal.
Okay.
So that'll keep him busy until Thursday.
Yeah. Which we're getting a bunch in. I ordered a bunch.
Good. I don't know how the timing's going to work out for this, but the official last Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo Batman thing is in Detective 1000.
Okay.
They do a short story.
Okay.
Detective Comics 1000 is going to be a lot like Action Comics 1000.
I'd hope.
And it features Scott Snyder.
It's probably, 5 months from now, probably. So, like, February, March, somewhere in there?
No? November of this year? It's coming up soon.
1000?
They're in the 80s right now. 980? 987?
Well, that's... So, they do 2 a month.
Yeah.
So it's about 10 issues away.
Oh, yeah. All right. I read something that said it would still be this year.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely not in the November catalog.
Okay.
And I think, like, basically, like, the way that I remember reading about it was that Peter Tomasi and Doug Mahnke come out at $9.95 to be the road to 1,000. And they won't they don't even start until, I think, December.
Okay. Well, are we going to open at midnight for that one?
In December? Probably not. It is too cold outside.
Along with Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, it'll feature Tom King, Jock, Jason Fabok. Not necessarily those lineups with each other.
Sure.
I'm just saying.
Those are the creators involved.
So far. And there'll be a bevy of past and future people, but these are the ones
I'm sure there will probably be at least 8 covers as well.
However, specifically the Scott Snyder, Jason Fabok stuff leads into the Three Jokers miniseries.
Yep. Boy, can I tell you, just as I know that fans are excited about it. We've already had people trying to add it to their subscriptions, despite it only just being announced recently, not even scheduled. But as a fan, boy, do I not care about that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't want to say zero interest, but I genuinely don't know if I'll even read it. Like,
well,
I don't think I need to sell it, because there's 3 Jokers. We know how much you love one Joker. Here's 3 of them.
Well, let me up the ante to this.
Okay.
And give you another option for which are you less excited for.
Which Jason Fabok project am I less excited for?
While adding in a 4th Joker.
Uh-huh.
This one is Scott Snyder and Jock.
Uh-huh.
The Batman Who Laughs.
I'm okay with that.
One of the announcements is that it'll feature heavily James Gordon Jr.
That's fine.
Okay.
I like Black Mirror. I don't love Black Mirror. And
do you like Jock more than you like Jason Fabok?
Yes.
Okay.
Only because, like, the things I don't like about Jock are just, I don't like the style a whole lot. Jason Fabok's art is so boring to me that that's a worse sin. It's worse to be competent but boring than to be, like, idiosyncratic but not to my taste. Yeah, I'll probably check out the Batman Who Laughs thing. There's so much stuff that DC does, especially event-oriented miniseries like this, where even if I don't care about them a whole lot, I understand why they're doing it, and I understand that there is a huge audience for them.
And this will make us money.
Oh my god, so much money. I don't know if Dark Knight's Metal would have been nearly as popular without the Batman Who Laughs. Like, yeah. I think it's a dumb idea, and we've joked about it tons of times. Just that it's a Batman who's a Joker, like, and people lose their shit over it. But I don't care a whole lot.
There was a guy who was in on Saturday, and he was one of the "Do you have Dark Knight's Metal" people that we didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted some other suggestions and whatnot. So I showed him what we had for Metal, and I showed him the collection of all the Dark Batman one-shots.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh man, weren't those so great? The art in those, it was just so great."
Okay, dude.
And I couldn't say anything to him because it wasn't for me.
Sure.
And I just didn't want to say, no.
Yeah,
Really? That the art?
The people who get excited about the Batman Who Laughs, for me, and I'm sure I'm going to take one group that's mad at me, and now then another group is going to be mad at me for saying this. It's like people get excited about, like, Venom and Carnage. Like, I don't understand why that's cool. Like, I thought they were cool when I was a child. Like, as an adult, I don't understand, like, how is that something you want to read about a bunch? How is that something that's interesting stylistically or dramatically? Like, I don't... It's just, it's so kind of blatant in its manipulative this plus this, only violent.
Yeah.
That it's just like, I don't... Alright, man. So, yeah, I don't... As a reader, a lot of the Black Label announcements are things where it's like, not for me. Maybe it'll be good. I'll probably give some of them a shot. I will not give all of them a shot. But there's a lot of stuff in there where it's just like, alright, there's an audience. It's not me, whatever. But as a retailer, I'm very excited about a lot of them because the lowest hanging fruit for DC as a publisher is just make more Batman stuff. There does not seem to be an upper limit on the amount of Batman books people will buy.
As a quick aside,
yeah,
there's a lot of different pop vinyls coming out. For example, they just announced a series of Married with Children pop vinyls.
Sure.
Fine. One of the annoying parts of these series they announce is because they'll announce a theme or a license and then stagger the release. For example, they announced a set of New Girl pops featuring the 4 roommates of the Loft.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica Day came out over a month ago. Nothing else since. And we've ordered the other ones as well. So last week, the Venomized line started to come out, and we got Venomized Hulk and Carnage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember specifically looking at Carnage, but is it Carnage or is it Venomized Carnage?
It's just Carnage.
And if it's Venomized Carnage, isn't that just Venom?
It's just Carnage.
But isn't a Venomized Carnage just...
Yeah, absolutely. Which I think that's why it's Carnage, because
Okay.
it's just Carnage. I mean, he looks venomized in that, like, the symbiote is coming off the face a bit, but that's just the style of the line, not that he has a different kind of symbiote than he normally does.
It's like Venom plus Carnage. Okay, that's Venom.
Yeah. Like, I mean, a lot of that stuff, it's weird, because on the one hand, I look at a lot of that stuff, like the Batman Who Laughs, and, like, Weapon H, and Cosmic Ghost Rider, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, like, it's barely an idea. It's like one of those T-shirts. Someone was in today wearing a T-shirt, and it was the Scott Pilgrim movie poster design, where he's playing the guitar and hunched over a bit.
Yeah.
But it was a Doctor Who.
Okay.
And it's just like, like, it's not even, it's barely a concept. We took this thing and we added this other thing you like. You'll like it twice as much now. And in comics, how often that works is so almost disturbing to me, because it's like, why bother having a good idea if you can get by with Batman plus the Joker? Wolverine plus the Hulk?
I mean, I'm guilty
a
of...
Punisher who's a Ghost Rider in space.
I'm guilty of taking my band Serpent Crown and doing logos in the style of things I used to like. It's a classic thing, but I did the one I did was the Thundercats logo, but I hand drew a Serpent Crown logo in that font, and I took the classic lion head design and turned it into a snake with a crown.
So here's the twist, though, on all of my complaints about this plus that character design. I am genuinely excited for the Infinity Warps concept that's part of this Infinity Wars thing. Like the Sorcerer Supreme that's Captain America and Doctor Strange. The Arachnite that's Moon Knight and Spider-Man. Like, it's basically the amalgam stuff that DC and Marvel did, but Marvel's just taking 2 of their own characters this time.
And they could do it in unlimited lists.
Same thing for Spider-Verse, where it's just a Spider-Man but Old West, or Aunt May, or the Japanese live-action TV show. Like, whatever. Like, that stuff I'm into and, like, completely unironically interested in it. And so I don't know 100% what the difference is between those things. I think the 2 main differences are, one, especially for the Infinity Warps amalgam stuff, it's not just this plus that, it's 2 completely different worlds and putting them together. Where it's, you know, for the Arachnite thing, some of the description I really liked was that it's not just Spider-Man but he's Moon Knight or whatever. It's that it's Peter Parker who has 3 different personalities in his head. The photographer, the science teacher, like all that sort of stuff, where it's like, oh, it's the 3 different, like, Mark Spector personalities, but all of Spider-Man's weird jobs and stuff. Or, like, taking Prince T'Challa and having him be an outcast from Wakanda who becomes a stunt driver in a carnival or whatever, and that's the Ghost Panther stuff. Like, taking the worlds of those characters and finding some way to meld them together in some hopefully consistent way is interesting. But the other thing is that it feels like a lot of the ones like Cosmic Ghost Rider, Batman Who Laughs, Weapon H, it's the fact that there's an emphasis on, like, they're more extreme now.
It's the violence factor.
Yeah, it's the Deadpool thing where kids love Deadpool because he's a Spider-Man who murders people. And that feels like the addition to all of these that I dislike is and they're extreme. Like, all right, like, I haven't cared about that in 30 years.
It's like, bear with me, all of these Infinity Warps are standard wrestling matches, and Cosmic Ghost Rider or Weapon Age, those are street fights.
I guess, or to make it like more specific to recent events, the Weapon H's and Batman Who Laughs are street fights, and the stuff I like, the stuff that's working for me, is Jay Lethal, but he's Macho Man.
Okay.
Where it's like, oh no, that's real good, like that's real clever. There's a sense of fun about it, and I don't feel like the fun is in the other characters. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's them being brutal or extreme feels like the end point of these characters rather than the stuff that's working for me, which is way goofier. Like, one of the Spider-Verse characters is the Tsum Tsum Spider-Man,
yeah.
the plush log character. Like, I gotta know how that happens in the story. I gotta see what that's about. Aunt May is a Spider-Man who's called Spider-Ma'am. Yes, absolutely, on board.
By the way, not only was Josh Segura out with Stephen Amell at All In, he was wearing a T-shirt that said Vigilante Club.
They were selling Vigilante Club shirts.
Were they?
Oh yeah, I saw a
Okay.
bunch of people in the crowd with them. Somebody had told me about that. I think it might have been Stella had mentioned it as a thing that was already happening, or maybe it was a different person who was going to All In fan.
Huh.
So I knew about that ahead of time, and I thought it was goofy then too.
Well, at least there's a reason for it now.
Yeah,
Because Vigilante was there.
well, no, but I mean the Vigilante Club was because of the Vigilante from the first season of Arrow. Like, that was so. It's
No, I know, but also,
But
Adrian Chase
except
in the comics was
he
Vigilante.
wasn't, but in the
I know
TV show,
it'd be Prometheus Club the
Yes.
other way. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to say I'm out of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo news. Just that there's a different way they're promoting Heroes in Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
They had a poster with a bunch of different characters on it.
Mm-hmm.
Heroes and villains.
Okay.
And the taglines are 3 accused of murder, 2 murdered, 1 murderer.
Gasp.
So, and it's people like Superman, Lex Luthor, Catwoman, Poison Ivy, Booster Gold,
Blue Jay.
Arsenal, Roy Harper / Arsenal.
Uh-huh.
However, when talking about Heroes in Crisis, and take this for the possible red herring it is, because whenever Chris Jericho says, I definitely will not be at All In, that means he's at All In.
Yep.
Dan DiDio is alluding that it's Tim Drake who's going to die.
It's possible.
Sure.
Tim Drake
but it's also going to be Arsenal.
I mean, possibly.
That's my pick.
So DC gave us the first 17 pages of Heroes in Crisis #1. Did you read it yet?
No, it's only the first 17 pages.
I'm not
it
is black and white and covered in really obtrusive watermarks.
Yeah, and I'm not...
However,
I'll read Extermination knowing that they're not giving me the last 2 pages, fine.
Yes.
But I'm not reading 17 pages out of...
22.
Okay.
I think it's only the last 5.
I didn't know if it was oversized or not. I don't remember.
I think they said in the email they were excluding the last 5 pages for spoiler reasons. I liked the first issue. I didn't read the whole thing because they didn't give us the whole thing, but I liked what I read. The writing's real good. It'll be interesting to see how it all comes together.
Well, I mean, we did go all in.
All over. What? Okay. Including the new Ryan Sook variant cover that just got offered that we made sure we got some of. Where you can have a cover commemorating the gruesome consequences of being a hero in the DC universe.
Yeah, those are weird choices of covers. I said something about Blue Beetle and Max Lord being part of the Justice League moving forward, but I didn't read it. And also, Vampironica 4 has a new artist.
Yeah, I think I'd heard that. Somebody had mentioned it in a way where I guess if I'd been keeping up with Greg or Meg Smallwood on the social medias, I might know that. But yeah, I mean, 3's so delayed that he can't be drawing it going forward. It would never come out. and certainly not with doing other projects like stuff at Marvel. He's doing something. He's doing one of the weekly books or something that's coming out. I remember. Oh, he's one of the Defenders books. He's doing one of the Defenders books.
Okay.
I remember seeing his name in conjunction with something recently, and that was it. He's doing, I think, the Jerry Dugan one or something.
Well, Dal, it's a brand new month, and we have a bunch of Patreon patrons that we need to thank because they're very generous and donate their money to, I was going to say, keep this podcast afloat, but, I mean, we do it anyway.
Yeah.
And we have a million new events coming up that we've added a bunch to.
Gosh.
So what do you want to do first?
I can't read either of the things that you need to off the board, so pick one.
Okay, fine. We did mention Patreon. We do have a Patreon account specifically for this podcast. If you think there's any value in what we do, if you enjoy listening to us, if we brighten your week in some way, if we just kill 4 hours a month for you, and you think that each episode is worth, like, I don't know, 25 cents, you can pledge to subscribe to us for $1 a month, which comes out to $0.25 an episode.
It's great.
Via patreon.com/challengers. If you subscribe at a certain level, we will thank you on the air, which is, I don't know if that's the accurate phrase anymore, but I'm still going to call it that forever, because that's how it's, I guess, easiest to describe. And, you know, I assume where you're listening to this podcast, you are breathing, so there is air around you. So I guess it still applies. But thank you very much to our thank you level patrons, like Ryan Alcock, Mike Lee, Mitchell Davies, Tom Nagovin, Jose Villagomez, the entire Springham family, Michael Romanenko, Arthur White, my brother George Brower, Morgan Kaiju Perry, Robert Lane, and Jacob Sorelli. So thank you for caring enough.
Thanks, everybody.
About this podcast to be in the thank you section. And going over the upcoming events, we're not going to go into huge detail because there's a lot of them. And
oh God,
what I want to do now is, we did this once before, and this Friday, September 7th, we are having a release party for Ryan Browne's God Hates Astronauts presents 3D Cowboys 2D Spectacular. This time for real. The books are in Chicago. They will be debuting at this party. And we did this once before. So here I am now live talking about this event to Ryan Browne. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Patrick. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. So what can you tell us about this new book?
Well, it's a collection of stories. I wrote all of them. I'm also drawing the linking segments between the stories. Overall, it's a continuation of the God Hates Astronaut series, where 3D Cowboy, who's in jail for murdering fill-in narrator Charles Soule, has to impart the ways of narration to his son, 3D Millennial. And in doing so, a bunch of short stories will happen with characters in and around the God Hates Astronauts universe, all illustrated by all-star artists. And don't worry, if you've not read God Hates Astronauts, this book is goofy enough that you can jump right in.
Now, I have read God Hates Astronauts ever since Chris Burnham told Dal and I that we should read it.
Oh,
and
cool.
That,
Thank
that
you so
was,
much.
Sure. I read it this entire time. Someone just told me it's a humor book. Is that true?
It is, yes. In fact, I know that Challengers has started racking it in the humor section, is what Dal told me. It's a superhero humor book that definitely leans a little bit more on the humor side. But if you're a superhero fan, you'll get a lot out of it with the jokes and the characters. There'll be concepts you might recognize, but in a goofier form.
So you're saying that Challengers previously racked it in superheroes, but then moved it?
No. What Dal told me was that you and he had some confusion over where it was located at, thinking it might be in the superhero section, when really it was in the humor section.
I see. I think
I'm getting this all secondhand, so I don't know.
Sure. I think I'm getting personally better at figuring out where things are, but it's a learning process, and I appreciate you putting up with the learning curve that we have in this.
I'm just glad people are buying the book.
I assume that we will have other Ryan Browne work for people there to peruse and look at. But one last question:
Okay, I got to get going. My limo's here, and I mean, technically, I'm paying for it all the time, but I just don't like to keep the driver waiting.
All right. Well, thanks, Ryan. We'll see you on Friday.
Okay.
Hey, Dal, you just missed Ryan Browne. He was here.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a limo parked out front, and it's taking up like 3 spaces. So I had to go yell at the driver and get him to leave.
Oh, I don't.
It's not a problem.
It's not my limo. I don't care.
Okay, cool.
It
the,
doesn't matter to me at all.
The front desk for the building, it buzzed me and let me know because they thought it was something to do with us. And I went down there and I'm like, we did not get a limo. This is not us.
Wait, did you go down there and think you can just get a limo? They're going to take you somewhere?
No. I wanted to make sure that the driver wasn't using the Contest of Challengers recording studio as some way to get like free parking or whatever by saying, I'm with these guys.
I see.
And again, like neither you nor I had a limo, so I went down there and told them to move because this is not how you do things in the city. Is just riding off of our name.
Yeah, that's not cool.
No, not cool.
Well, good job.
Thank you. I'm glad there were no consequences.
So Ryan Browne will be at the store on Friday, September 7th for that party we just talked about and talked to Ryan about. The Monday after that, which is September 10th, it is Women's Comics Night for the month, and the theme is gaming.
Game night.
Whether it be role-playing, video, board,
card.
All of those things. Friday, which is the day before Saturday, September 15th. Saturday, September 15th. I messed that one up. See, that's why I had to jump.
So close.
I'm even looking at a board that I specifically wrote date, day of the week, and title.
Saturday, September 15th.
Don't do that.
Is the day that the DC Universe streaming service launches.
That's right. And to commemorate the DC Universe streaming service, they decided to make it Batman Day.
Or the other way around.
Where we will have 3 different artists doing Batman sketches, including Luke Smarto, Stephanie Mydad, and Tom Kelly. And we will have 2 different Batman freebie giveaway comics. We will have 20% off of all
Bat stuff,
Bat merchandise for the entire day. Did I say face painting? We'll have that. We'll have at least one cosplayer, although we honestly don't know what costume they will be wearing, what character they'll be portraying. It's a surprise to all of us, but definitely something Bat-related.
Yay!
Thursday, the 20th of September, is Correspondence Club, hosted by Donovan Challenger. The theme for that meetup is sleepless, but you can write to whatever, and we usually do.
Yeah, like the last theme was monstrous, and I don't read monstrous, so I wrote letters to Kaiju Max and maybe somebody else. I can't remember.
Unrelated, Thursday, September 20th is also Serpent Crown practice, so
whoops,
I will not be at Correspondence Club.
I have family stuff, so I will also not be at Correspondence Club.
Whoops. Okay. There we go. Monday, September 24th, is the next Challengers Graphic Novel Book Club meeting featuring All the Answers by Michael Kupperman, and it is an autobiographical story growing up the son of quiz kid Joel Kupperman, who was a boy genius and on all the radio and television quiz shows when he was a youngster. And this is Michael trying to get all the stories from his father while he still can. Friday, September 28th, it is a Learn to Play Transformers the Trading Card Game,
yes,
hosted by Del Bush.
Hi, I already have the 2-player starter deck, and I've had it for almost a month, so I will be able to answer questions and help people through their first game for the Transformers Trading Card Game from Wizards of the Coast. You're welcome to bring cards if you have them already. That is the day the game comes out, so we will have both the 2-player starter set and sometimes they call it the 2-player starter set, but really it's 1 player's worth of cards that you could split in half to play with 2 people.
Okay.
But we will have the Autobot starter set, and we'll have booster packs. We will require, if you do want to participate in the Learn to Play, that you have or purchase an Autobot starter set. We won't have like a demo kit ready for people to play.
Okay, so is purchase required for this?
I mean, if someone has a set of cards, a starter set, we can play a game. It's fine, but yeah, we will have the starter set available for purchase.
Okay,
but you need to have either buying from us or bought from someone else a set of cards to play. There is not a demo kit that we have been given by Wizards of the Coast to teach you how to play the cards.
Got it.
You will need a set of cards to play.
Moving into October, Monday, October 8th is the October meetup for Women's Comics Night, and the theme is Ghoul Gang, all the creepy Halloween-related hijinks you would expect from a Halloween-themed meetup. Moving into more signings and things, Saturday, October 13th, we are having a signing for Murder Falcon #1, featuring Daniel Warren Johnson, the writer and artist of Murder Falcon, also of the writer and artist of Space Mullet and Extremity, and the artist of Ghost Fleet, and a whole bunch of other Star Wars mini-comics, and the Quake special for Marvel. Anyway, mainly Extremity, and Murder Falcon, where heavy metal and giant Falcon-related aliens team up to save the world.
Cool.
It sounds great. I can't wait. Thursday, October 18th, we have a signing with Jason Walls from the brand new YA graphic novel Last Pick. Basically, there's an alien invasion, and people too young, too old, or too frail are left behind. They are not picked, like they're the last picked people in a dodgeball team, and they have to band together to try to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new series starting from First Second, and Jason Walls is touring for it, and he's coming to Challengers for it.
Yeah, thanks, Jason.
Then, Saturday, November 3rd, we will have a signing with Bernie Gonzalez, the brand new Alterna $1.50 comic Midnight Mystery #1. It is basically a supernatural private investigator taking on a new case with a missing horror host, and he will be signing issue 1, copies of issue 1 on that day. And then other stuff moving forward, and we don't have anything else officially. I mean, like the usual Women's Comics Night.
Yeah, I mean, there's other stuff that I think we're talking about, but we haven't officially said yes or no on.
But that is a ton of events.
Yeah.
All moving forward, and we always have more. If you can't remember the events, and you don't know what they are, and the easiest way to do it is you go to challengers.events, and that takes you right there. Not even .com, challengers.events. It's perfect.
Perfect.
I'm sorry, were you looking for some more topics?
No, we had just gotten a notification 43 minutes ago from Google saying that new photos were added to Challengers Comics on Google My Business.
I see. So what you're saying is you were bored with my announcement reading, and you...
No, I was just surprised that a consumer had come into Challengers and taken a whole bunch of pictures.
Nice. Which anyone can do if they come into Challengers and take some pictures.
Apparently you can, yeah.
And then add them to the Google listing page.
Yeah, how weird.
Or, I guess, Yelp and all those things.
Yeah.
That's what I got. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.
I didn't have a better sign-off than that.
It's okay.
I was hoping for a segue from what you were doing, but I couldn't think of one.
So they took a picture of the bookshelves